There's a man sitting across from you. You haven't texted him in 4 days. He has texted you 11 times. You didn't manipulate him. You didn't play games. You simply understood one thing he never did. The mind does not chase what is available. It chases what it cannot finish processing. Hard cut, silence, then low tone. What you are about to learn is not attractive. It is not charisma. It is cognitive architecture. And once you understand it, you will never interact with people the same way again. Section 1, the core problem. Most people are bleeding influence every single day, and they don't even know it. They respond to every message within seconds. They explain everything about themselves by the third conversation. They stay in rooms long after their energy is peaked. They give full access, full transparency, full availability. And then they wonder why the person they're investing in starts treating them like furniture. Here is the brutal truth. The human brain assigns value based on scarcity, not loyalty. It does not reward effort. It rewards mystery. The more someone can predict you, the less psychological space you occupy in their mind. And psychological space, not attention, not time, is where real influence lives. Let me show you exactly how this works in practice. Not theory, real behavior. Principle 1, the incomplete loop. Imagine you are in a conversation. The energy is building. The other person is laughing, engaged, leaning in. And right at that peak, you stop, not because you ran out of things to say, because you understand something most people don't. The brain hates incomplete loops. Psychologists call this the Zeigarnik Effect. Tasks and interactions that are left unfinished are remembered up to 90% more than completed ones. Your brain literally keeps the file open. So when you end the conversation at the peak, not after the peak, the other person's mind doesn't close the file. It keeps running. It replays your last words. It makes me wonder what you were going to say next. It starts building a version of you inside their head. And that internal version, that's where influence really lives. The mistake your competitor made, they told you to exit before you peak, but never told you how. Here's the exact behavior. When you feel the conversation reaching its highest point, shift your energy slightly inward, pause with calm confidence, and say something like, I actually have to move, but this was worth stopping for. Then leave. No over-explanation. No apology. Clean, intentional, final. Now here is where it gets darker. Section 3. Principle 2. Emotional contrast as a weapon. The human brain does not remember steady states. It remembers peaks and valleys. Think about the last person who truly occupied your mind. I guarantee they didn't stay the same emotionally. One moment they were warm, the next slightly distant. One moment intensely focused on you, the next completely absorbed in their own world. That inconsistency wasn't chaos. It was a contrast. And contrast is the fingerprint of a psychologically significant person. Here is what your competitor missed. They said be dynamic, but they never told you the ratio. The formula is 70 to 30. 70% calm, grounded, consistent. 30% unpredictable. A sudden sharp observation, a rare moment of warmth, an unexpected silence that stretches 2 seconds too long. The 70% builds trust. The 30% builds tension. And it is the tension that creates the mental loop. If you are always warm, warmth becomes air. But if you are mostly measured and then suddenly deeply present, that moment gets encoded, replayed, searched for, direct address, slightly confrontational. Stop for a second. Ask yourself honestly, are you operating from a place of psychological abundance right now? Or are you leaking need? Principle 3. The need signal destroys everything. Nothing collapses influence faster than visible emotional dependency, not rudeness. Not distance, dependency. The moment someone senses that their approval is the thing holding your emotional state together, you stop being a destination and start being a burden. Your energy shifts from, I want to be around this person to, I have to manage this person. And the human mind does not chase what it has to manage. Here is what nobody tells you about non-neediness. It is not about being cold. It is not about pretending you don't care. It is about being genuinely full before you arrive, full of direction, full of purpose, full of a life that doesn't pause for external validation. When your life has real momentum, real goals, real focus, real self-respect, your presence automatically communicates scarcity, not manufactured scarcity, real scarcity, because your time is actually claimed by something meaningful. The practical behavior is this. Before any significant interaction, ask yourself, does my emotional stability depend on how this goes? If the answer is yes, you are not ready. Work on the internal architecture first, because people can feel the answer to that question. They feel it in your pauses, your eye contact, your tone when things don't go the way you hoped. The person who needs nothing from the interaction is always the most powerful person in the room. Now we go into the most misunderstood principle Machiavelli ever wrote about. Principle 4. Occupy the mind through strategic silence. Machiavelli wrote that the prince who speaks too freely gives away his power freely. Most people feel silence because silence makes them anxious. They treat every pause as a problem to solve, every gap in conversation as evidence that something is wrong. But silence is not empty. Silence is pressure, and the person who is comfortable in silence controls the room. When you speak less, every word you do speak carries more weight. When you don't rush to fill pauses, the other person begins filling them for you, revealing themselves, seeking your reaction, leaning into the space you created. This is not manipulation. This is calibration. You are teaching the interaction what you are worth. Here is a specific behavior. In your next high-stakes conversation, let 3 seconds pass before responding to anything emotionally significant. Just 3 seconds. Breathe. Process. Then speak. Watch how the entire dynamic shifts. The other person reads that pause as depth, as a consideration, as someone who thinks before they react. And in a world full of reactive people, that alone makes you psychologically rare. Here's the part most creators won't say out loud. Principle 5. Become associated with elevation, not comfort. Comfort creates familiarity. Elevation creates attachment. Most people try to make others feel safe around them. And safety is good. But safety alone doesn't create a mind that keeps returning to you. What creates mental return is the feeling of becoming better near you. When someone leaves a conversation with you feeling sharper, more focused, more ambitious, their brain chemically associates you with growth. And the brain chases what makes it grow. You do not do this through advice. Advice is usually resisted. You do it through the questions you ask, the standards you silently hold, the things you refuse to complain about, the way you respond to setbacks without drama. Your discipline is visible even when you're not talking about it. Your focus communicates itself. Your standards announce themselves before you open your mouth. The person you are becoming is the most powerful influence tool you own. Pull back. Reflective tone. Everything we have covered leads to one final principle. And this one most people will resist. The final principle: never be fully decoded. The mind only chases what it cannot completely categorize. Your competitor talked about being hard to categorize. But here's what they missed. This is not about mystery for its own sake. It is about genuine depth that takes time to reveal. The person who cannot be placed into a simple box is a person whose presence never fully leaves a mind. You achieve this by having actual complexity, by developing real intellectual range, by holding contradictions that are authentic, disciplined but spontaneous, serious but capable of genuine humor, confident but genuinely curious. Not perform complexity. Real layers. Build over time through real experience, real reading, real self-examination. When someone senses that there is more beneath your surface than they have seen, they don't walk away satisfied. They walk away intrigued. And intrigue is a foundation of lasting mental presence. Here is what everything comes down to. You are not trying to make someone think about you. You are trying to become worth thinking about. Scarcity, tension, contrast, silence, elevation, depth. These are not tricks. They are the architecture of a mind that naturally draws people in and holds them there. Not because you force it, but because you built something real. The people who live permanently in other people's minds are not the loudest. They are the most intentional. Build that, and you won't need to chase a single person again.